That's
That's good, right? There we go.
Yes.
If you click comments to the top right of the screen there, you'll be able to see what people are saying because people will be commenting.
Again, I don't see that. Like mine, it looks.
It'll say like comments and then private chats around the side.
Yeah, I see down at the bottom. There's mic, there's camera, there's chat, there's more, and there's leave.
Yeah, if you just hit chat or comments, then you can see what people are saying when they.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Cool. Okay, we should be good now.
All right, cool.
I'm gonna light some sage. Maybe it'll stop the weirdness from happening.
Please do. I don't think I've ever done a podcast or a webinar or any of the teaching things that I do without an issue. I don't think I've ever been able to do
Usually how it goes, huh? Spirit be spiriting.
That's what I always chalk it up to myself.
It doesn't help. Mercury's in retrograde right now, and I feel like everything is just kind of breaking down in new ways.
Always, especially with technology and retrogrades, they do not like each other.
No, they don't. You see in the comments popping up, hello everybody, good morning. Hello.
Oh yeah, I see you.
Hi Stephanie, hi Michelle, hi Charisse, hi Lynn, hi Rihanna, hi Summer. So good to see you guys. Hello. We get people from all over the world. We got people from South Africa watching, and England, and all over the U.S.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have a worldwide audience here.
That's awesome. I like to
You're
hear
my
all the
first death doula on my podcast. I've had a podcast for 18 months now, and I have not had a death doula, and I don't even know why, because I'm so interested in what you do. And when I saw you one day, I was like, I have to talk to her. Like, she looks so great, and you vibe, and the way you connect with people is lovely. So
I'm the vice president of an international death doula collective, and I'm like the woo-woo death doula. They're always like, you got to talk to Mikey. She's the one that does the Reiki and talks to dead people. We're just here to help people die. So I'm like, okay, great.
You're a perfect fit for our community. You really are. So yes, Mikey and I, we haven't really known each other very long. We've just been following each other's posts for a couple weeks. But as soon as I saw her, I just thought I have to speak with her and hear more about what you do and how you got into being a death doula. Because a lot of this work is very, like, I don't want to use the word taboo.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Death doula, and some people are like, oh my God, what is that?
That's exactly right. No, it is taboo. It is. People do not, I don't know if it's different in other countries, but definitely in our country, they don't like the word death. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to acknowledge it. So it's been kind of an uphill battle to try to figure out how to approach the subject and invite people into the conversation. From what I've learned, it seems like people are afraid if they talk about it, that they're going to manifest that. So like, if I'm encouraging people either our age or older to do an advanced directive, they're afraid to even talk about what their wants or wishes would be if an event that they are unable to advocate for themselves, because they're afraid that if they speak it, it's going to happen. I'm not sure if that's like religious dogma that has made them feel this way. I try to say, when we talk about it, it's not going to happen. And in fact, the opposite is going to happen, where you feel empowered. You actually have some control. You have some agency. You have choice. And it is a gift to leave your loved ones and your family clear, specific instructions, because most people want to honor their parents, their grandparents, their significant others, their siblings, but we have no idea. We don't know what you want if you don't tell us. And it's even better if you can tell us and then write it down, like down to the very specifics. Like in my advanced directive, I have very specifically, I don't want to die in a facility. I want to die at home. I want specific blankets. I want specific pillows. I have a specific death doula and an alternate death doula named. I want a spiritual cleansing. I want, Palo Santo. I want sage. Like I have every little thing down so that nobody has to guess. Nobody has to wonder, especially when you're in the middle of grief. Cognitively, you're not able to make the best decisions because you're in the fight or flight part of the brain when you're going through a loss. And I think it's a gift to leave your loved ones clear and specific instructions on what you would like done. That's my 2 cents on the practical paperwork part of all of that.
Well, I've noticed, and I'm glad you mentioned it about being westernized a little bit, because, when we are so afraid of death here and the fact that we avoid discussing it, we find more earthbounds here. We find more people that have not crossed over here. And we have I don't know if it's, I have asked my soul guides about this, why it's so common here. And they did say that religion plays a big part of it, that there's a lot of fear in crossing over, a lot of fear of punishment, a lot of fear of going to hell or all these other places. So when they see the doorway open, they think, oh, I'm not going there. It's almost like you're scared to be sent down to the principal's office.
Yes.
And so a lot of people also don't even know what to do. Like I find children wandering around sometimes and we're like, why haven't you crossed, honey? And they're like, I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do. That's exactly that. It resonates deeply with me, with me. And a lot of my job or my soul's like weight that I carry is trying to help that happen, trying to help them go to where they need to go and to demystify it. And again, I believe you're correct with they're scared. Like they've been terrified that they're going to go to this place called hell because they were a bad person. And that's just like not the case. Like that's not what I have observed. That's not what I see. And I try to eliminate that limiting belief. I have had a near-death experience. I see the souls cross all the time. We just go back into our light bodies, really, is what I have been shown and what I have seen. And I try to explain that to them. Like we are in our physical body, the soul, the chi, the life force energy, whatever word you want to put on it, it's your light, and you just leave this physical body and you go back into your light body. And you're not in pain, you're not suffering, you are kind of everything everywhere all at once. Like you don't miss the loved ones here because you are still here, but you're also there. And again, we don't have the language for it in our human form. I'll share this short little anecdote that I tell people, and it seems to bring a lot of comfort. It's a little parable. There's two twins and stop me if you've heard this before, but there's two twins inside their mother's womb. And one of the twins is so excited to be born. The baby's like, I can't wait to go out there and actually like look at the world and taste this food that mom is giving us and just see what it's all about. And the other twin is like, what are you talking about? Why would you ever want to leave this place? We get our food, we're warm, we're cared for, we're nurtured. I have no intention of going out there. I am happy right here. I don't want to go. Well, 9 months go by and, the twins are born into the world and they're, in their mother's arms and they're looking at each other and they're like, oh my gosh, I could never have imagined that the colors are so bright, that the smells are so vast, that food tastes so good. The milk tastes delicious. Like I never thought the feeling of a blanket could feel like this. They didn't have a frame of reference for what the other world is because they've never seen it. And, one twin is operating out of fear. The other twin is operating out of optimism. This world is all we know. It's our womb. This is what we know. This is what's familiar. This is what's comfortable. But we just don't have the language or the ability to really, in our human brains, understand what the afterlife is and what it looks like. And I think when you eliminate some of that fear and kind of frame it that way, people are like, oh, okay, like it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be better than I could have ever imagined. We just don't have, and the way the religion has made so much fear around this, and that you have to be like a perfect person, which is not attainable, it's not possible. And then we have all of this fear and this shame and just like you said, they're stuck, like they're holding on, like I don't want to let go, I don't want to let go.
There was one person that refused to cross over because she didn't like how her son was handling her bedspread that she had made. She made a bedspread and she was we were like, why haven't you crossed over? We know that you're in the house. We can sense you're in the house. Things would move around the house. And then he asked us to do a clearing and we found the grandmother in the house. And we said, why didn't you cross over, love? And she goes, he's not treating my bedspread very nicely. He's got it all piled up in the corner. He's not using it. He's not taking care of my things. Funny. They had attachments to even objects and wouldn't cross over.
That's so interesting. It's this like control. It's like we can't let go of this world and its responsibilities or our responsibilities to it. And if we can just surrender and let go, the peace that you'll find is pretty phenomenal, in my opinion. I think I'm happy to be here in this world and I'm happy to be fulfilling my like soul's purpose, but I cannot wait to go back into my light body and get the hell out of here.
Well, it's not easy down here. No. Some people even consider this to be like the midway point, where things can get very dark, they can be very light, it can be a mix of everything, the duality aspect of life here. But when you pass on and you cross over, it's like going home. It's like you go back to that space of warmth and comfort and love, and you're so at peace with everything because you know that nothing ever truly dies. You just change form.
That's exactly right. And I mean, when I'm sitting bedside with people that are dying, this is a conversation we have all the time. They want to know, Mikey, you know, you see people die every day. Like, what do you think happens? And I do my best to explain exactly what I just did. And I do see comfort and peace around that and in their faces. And I try to just, you know, meet them where they are. But I think you're right. I think this world is complicated. It's hard. To me, it's kind of like the challenge. You know, you got to go through these hard things to kind of ascend to get to that light body moment. You know, it's like this is purgatory. There's not like a purgatory other than this. Like, this is what that is, in my opinion, you know. And I think it's just, I don't know, it seems like you kind of get reincarnated and keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back to learn certain lessons. And once you've kind of fulfilled your purpose and have learned enough lessons, you are back in your light body and can stay there longer. You know, that's sort of the way they've shown it to me. And I find a lot of comfort in that. I find a lot of peace in that. I also see all of the time, I don't think I've ever seen somebody pass where their loved ones, they always come back to get them. They always go with like a whole team of people, you know, their mother, their father, the people that brought them the most comfort. Some of them you wouldn't even expect, but there's always, you know, there's this phenomenon where they're reaching up and they'll say, like, Mikey, do you see those angels? Like, the veil is so thin as the soul is passing that they will see, and I can see it and I can feel it too. So I can validate their experience, you know. And pets always come back.
I've seen so many pets come and get earthbounds.
And you know what's weird? Some of them are not like pet people in life, like they didn't own a cat or a dog, and still animals are always there.
It could have been from another lifetime that they recognize.
That's what I think.
Come back again, yeah,
100%. That's what I've chalked it up to as well, because I've had a few people that like are very anti-pet. You know, they're fine with other people's pets, but they don't want. And then there's like a cat on the bed or a dog on the or a horse, you know, and they're like, "Do you see that dog in the corner?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
And sometimes even the pets don't cross over because they're so connected to the people. There was one lady that I crossed over and I said, "Well, why didn't you cross?" And she goes, "My cat came for me. I died and then I saw my cat was there with me waiting for me. And I was so happy to be back with my cat that I just stayed with the cat." So we helped the older lady and the cat cross over together.
I
waited for each other. Wasn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful. I find that also very, very comforting that you're not alone with that.
Yes.
At all.
But I noticed that funeral rites do play a big role in this too, because if people don't get a funeral, if they don't get the funeral that they like as well, sometimes they have a bit of resentment. They feel a bit unloved. And that also keeps them, you know, earthbound too. So it's really important to give them a sending off. I love that you said meet them where they're at. That is such a powerful thing, because a lot of people have different levels of consciousness, different layers of understanding. And you don't want to overwhelm them with anything that's going to frighten them or make them feel a bit more uncomfortable. You want to make them feel, no matter what they believe, it's almost like you want to make them happy in their belief. So
100%. 100%. I work with a lot of little old ladies that are super devout Christians. And so I'll speak that language to them. You know what I mean? I don't care what religion you are. At the end of the day, I can understand where you are. I can meet you where you're at with your different philosophies and wants and needs around your religion and help you still ascend and go where you need to go, you know. And I think that I'm a very open person. I'm very, as a death doula, like non-judgmental. I work with all different ages, races, genders, sexual orientations, all the things. And at the end of the day, like, we're all human beings. We're all gonna die one day. And I think the more intention you can put around it, the more planning you can put around it, the easier the soul can just labor on out. Like, they're more ready and they're just more willing to surrender, because they know, like, that comes back to that control piece and the bedspread and all these things. Like, you can, if you plan and you communicate appropriately while you still can, you can let go a lot easier, knowing that you've done all your things. You know, your family's not going to be, I try to explain again, when you're doing an advanced directive or you're working with a death doula on like your end of life planning stuff, it's a gift to give your children. It's a gift to give your family, because I see so many families totally fall apart because nobody communicated about it. And the brother thinks mom wants this, the sister thinks mom wants that, the husband thinks this, and everybody's fighting and everybody's miserable. And then the soul is trapped because
they don't like their family fighting over stuff.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you want the best death possible, it's going to take some planning. It's going to take some communication. It'll take a team. I don't replace hospice. Death doulas are, let me just explain what a death doula is, because nobody really knows that term unless you are familiar with them, which is,
we got 88 people watching right now. It's a good time to explain.
Let me back it up a little bit. So, what is a death doula? A death doula, I'm sure you've heard of a birthing doula. They help us labor into the world. Death doulas help us labor out of the world. So it's very, very similar at the beginning of life as it is at the end of life. So when you think of a birthing doula, a lot of times people have birthing doulas, whether they want to have a home birth or they want to be in the hospital. It's a non-medical person to help you labor through that process. There's postpartum doulas, there's labor and delivery doulas, there's death doulas, divorce doulas. Doulas are here we've been here since the beginning of time, and we're here to help the transition periods in life. We're here to help guide that process. So a death doula is a non-medical side of hospice. We do not replace hospice. We're technically not supposed to like handle medication or do any of the medical side of things. We're here to do the soul work, really, and to also assist with the practical. I know that hospice, yes, they can offer advanced directives and they can offer some insight, but hospice companies are big business. They have, 20 to 30 patients at a time with like 100-mile radius that they have to serve. They get about 15 to 20 minutes with their patient, and then they're on to the next. And a lot of people have a misconception thinking that my loved one is leaving the hospital. They have a terminal diagnosis. They're going to be transitioned to in-home hospice or a facility in hospice. And they think that this lovely angelic nurse is going to be there 24/7 to care for you while you die. That's just not the case. You're left on your own, and you need to figure out your own caregivers and your own support. And like I said, the hospice nurse will come and help with med management and things like that, but they just don't, it's not that they don't want to, the way the insurance companies and things are set up, that they don't have the ability to sit there for hours on end during the active dying phase or just during life, as it takes about 6 months to a year to die, depending on the age, diagnosis, and what's going on. And there's a big baby boomer and silver wave that's coming, like the silent generation, the ones that are still with us in their 80s, 90s, and I have a patient right now who's 102. They are laboring out of life. And then the boomer parents that we all have, they're getting sick, and a lot of them are dying too. And my generation, your generation, we can't just put our jobs and our child rearing and our lives to be there, to really be there. They have not set up life for us to even have longer than 3 days bereavement when you lose a child or a spouse or something, and you got to get right back to work. So who is going to actually be there to help adjust the position, to help with ADLs, which are the activities of daily living? Who's going to help? I do hand, each doula is different. Some doulas, depending on their state and with their comfort level and things like that, are very hands off. Some of them are more there to provide companionship. They'll read poetry. They'll do the legacy projects. They'll do what we call a Swedish death cleaning, where you kind of go through your belongings and decide what you're going to keep, donate, give to family before you die. They're there to help with the end of life planning. And then some of them, like myself, are a little more hands on, where I will do pretty much everything a CNA will do. I don't I won't open a medication bottle and give the medication that way. But if a loved one has already put it in a pill box and all I have to do is hand it to the individual and they take it, that's no problem with me. I don't mind changing dressing, bathing, but some are afraid of that. I mean, I have my own LLC. I have my own insurance. Like we were talking about, the paperwork part of this kind of stuff is.
That's what I told her at the beginning. I was like, I would love to be a death doula, but the paperwork stopped me.
It's a lot. Like, that's the thing. It is a lot. Like, I love what I do. I know that sounds crazy to say, but like being in this sacred space fills my cup. It doesn't deplete it. And I feel like I can provide such a service. And I really am intentional about helping my people labor out of life. We have lots of discussions. So I know their favorite music. I know their favorite smells. I always set up the room the way they would want, with nice ambient lighting. We have diffusers, a lot of sage and Palo Santo and different things if they're into that, singing bowls. We have their favorite music being played. I encourage people to lay in the bed with their loved one, hold each other, take pictures, take videos. Just be still and be in these spaces, because it's so, in our medical community and the way we do it in the Western world is just so cold and so matter of fact, and like, you got to cross these T's and dot these I's. And I'm trying to bring it more back to the way it used to be. You know, back when we were all in community together, children would see their grandparents die in home and they would be a part of that and they would be there. That wasn't so scary. You know, I think when we take our seniors and we put them in these facilities and we don't really see them, it's sad for them. It's sad for us as a community, as a collective. Like, we used to see our moms give birth in home. We used to see our grandparents die in the home. And it wasn't this big mystery. It wasn't this big taboo thing. And we were all kind of helping each other through those things. But we've extended and amputated ourselves with living far away from our family, living far away from our community. And now we're stuck to figure out, how do we help our dying loved one die and get the care that they need? So that's where a death doula really comes into play. I think you need a team of people to have the safest, most comfortable, peaceful labor out of life. So that's like a really short sort of version of what a death doula is. And this gap, I used to be a former social worker, and I just saw a huge gap in care. And I'm like, this is going to be a nightmare. Like, we have no plan for how this is going to go. And it's a mess. It's a mess. I get phone calls every single day. You know, I'm only one person. And I want each of my clients to have time, you know, with me. I'm there for several hours a day. I don't take a big caseload. The most direct people I'll see is like 2, maybe 3, if it's not super needy. Not everybody's at the active dying phase, but I'll stay there 24/7 when they're dying. I will make sure everything is handled with care. And to make sure that it's not so cold and scary. You know, really, I'm trying to alleviate that fear.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, we just had a comment, Miss Ava. Nice to see your comment, by the way, Ava. Ava said, my husband is transitioning now. His decline last week brought him to a lack in short-term memory, not recognizing me, his wife of 40 years, nor our home. He says we are in a system, and I asked him if it is the Matrix. He told me very much so. He's reaching out to our son and my brother, who have crossed over recently. He will be my 6th loved one I've had to prepare for this transition. Why are they so afraid? Sending you so much love, Ava.
Yes, that's really hard. So good job with everything that you're doing. And, you know, again, meeting him where he's at. It's so interesting at the end. There is a lot of confusion. There is some terminal lucidity. So I'm sure he'll have like moments of complete clarity too, where he does recognize who you are and where he is. But I see that a lot. I see that often where they talk about the simulation or the matrix, or, you know, they see stuff that, you know, their other family members aren't seeing, like loved ones and angels and whatever words you like to use to describe those beings. But that is, I mean, I'm going to validate what he's saying. Like, I see that as a common thread. And I would encourage you to just, I'm not saying placate him or like feed along with anything, but I think his reality is true. And I think that you just do your
100%.
best.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
confirmed it with mediumship. There's a lot of validation that we get through mediumship with this, because a lot of people, when they see those loved ones, they feel so at peace. And that is also what kind of gives them the excitement of crossing over. That's what removes the fear. So I feel it's a very important aspect to not only, you know, embrace, but to also, you know, kind of promote in a way, to say, hey, do you see your loved ones? And ask them, you know, because it's almost like because it can be a couple weeks ahead of time, right? Like before they pass on, it's like, yeah, they just start coming to them. And you can see the fear starts to leave when they know they're going to be reunited.
Totally. Yeah. Because I've had a lot of patients that are really, really scared to die, and they don't have some things settled with they're maybe not religious. And then they have this like kind of last minute existential crisis where they're not like, I'm not going to come to Jesus kind of thing. I don't want a priest. I don't want to be saved in that way. But there's, you know, they can be a little scared. And when they start to see those loved ones come, and like I said, to me, the veil is super thin and you can kind of see heaven, whatever you want to call it. They say heaven is usually what they tell me they're seeing. There is this wash of peace. There is this calm. And I do, I'm an advanced Reiki practitioner, and a lot of my clients want to have Reiki done as they pass. And let me tell you, that is the most profound experience of my life when I do that. And I'm doing the Reiki and I'm channeling for them, and I'm just open, and I'm, you know, using their life force energy, and you can just, they're at peace. Like they get to a place of like comfort and surrender. And it like I could cry just talking about it. There's been a few of them that were just so profound. And it was such an honor to be asked to do that and to be asked to hold that space and to see that, I mean, your angels and guides are so clear, so specific, so loud. And when I'm doing this, because I kind of, I don't, there's usually a little bit of an audience, which is not how it is when I'm doing my private Reiki and stuff. So it's, if somebody's son is passing away and then the mom, the dad, the brother, the sister, there's a few people there and they're watching this happen and I'm saying things that there's just no way I would know, stuff from their childhood, stuff from the individual, like things, messages that their loved ones are standing there needing to hear and to receive. It's a lot of comfort that is given to them, that the soul is already pretty much gone. And they say, tell my mom X, Y, and Z, tell my dad this, and again, I've only known these people for, sometimes the one I saw, I didn't even know him. I came as he was in the active dying phase. And I didn't know him at all. I was just called in a crisis. They said, he really wants Reiki. You were recommended as a death doula, please come. And I left my one client, ran over there. I think I was with him for an hour as he passed. And just the clear messages. He was so ready. He was able to communicate with his family in a way he never could in life. He was on the spectrum. He had some other mental health issues. It was a very tumultuous life for him. But at the end, he was able to really be at peace and to give what his family needed and what he needed. And I was just the vessel to do that. And I was so grateful and honored to be there for him and for his family. So I think if you can, again, meet people where they are and listen and try to show up for them however you can, it really does help that soul labor out easily, if that makes any sense.
And I've noticed, one of the ways people ask me, like, well, how do I know if a loved one is earthbound? One of my first questions is, did they die peacefully?
Oh, that's a good question.
If they died peacefully, then chances are their vibration, because it all depends on vibration. If your vibration is very low because of fear and pain and misery and all of these things, then your vibration is low enough. You're not really going to see any of that. It's almost like you have your blinders on.
Yeah.
But if you can bring them into comfort and peace and relaxation, and they're able to come to terms with it, then they have an easier time transitioning. It's the people who die, under suicide, the people who die under drug and alcohol, the people that die, who died instantaneously as well, that don't even know that they have passed yet.
That
a lot of people are wandering around, still even going to work, not knowing they're earthbound. It's crazy.
Yes, I've seen that a lot.
There's no what's the word? Closure that they should be
closure. I think that's right. And I think that when you are diagnosed with a terminal illness, it's sad, of course, but it is also a gift because you have a little bit of time to really reconcile your life and make plans and kind of hopefully with the team that's around you come to a place of peace and you can let go.
Yes. So what is the hardest part about being a death doula? The most challenging aspect. The paperwork. Okay, I should have known.
Honest to God, everything else for me, I really, really, really love doing. Even just the hardest, most complicated families that I work with, I still love it. It's for me, it was talking about fear and limiting beliefs. It was, how do I actually open a business? I don't have anybody in my family that's an entrepreneur that could help me. How do I get insurance? How do I market myself? How do I get my name out there? How do I network? How do I get clients? Because, you get a client and then they die. And then what? You got to start all over again. So to me, the hardest part was figuring out business stuff. Because as you saw earlier, I'm not great with technology. I am not great at the paper. I mean, I'm good at documentation because I was a social worker, but all of these LLCs and state filings and making sure your insurance is up to date, all these kind of things for me, that's not where I thrive. So I do have a little bit of a team. I have somebody that I hired to do my website. My wife, thank God, is good at technology and she will help me with a lot of the paperwork stuff that I get lost in. So that part is the hardest part for me. And I mean, I grieve a lot.
I was just about to ask, it must be hard. You build a connection with somebody and then they die. And that must be very sad. So
it is. I'm a human being. I'm so sensitive. I really don't take on a person if I don't connect with them. That's the blessing of being a business owner. You make your own hours, you choose your clients, you choose your schedule. So that to me is a gift. And I'm grateful that I can do that. But because of that, I really some people I'm with for 6 months, some people I'm with for a year. It just depends. And I really connect with them all. I go to everybody's funeral or whatever service they have, celebration of life. I'm always there. I do a lot of post-death work as well. I'm in the process of becoming a master level grief coach as well, because I want to provide help for the families in more depth. As a social worker, I have a lot of psychology under my belt, but grief was like a paragraph in my master's level when I went to grad school.
Really?
There was no semester on it. There was nothing. And I'm seeing that that's
such a powerful,
changing.
important thing to address, though.
Totally. I just did a talk at Michigan State University, because they have an entire department that is focused on death and dying, and they have death doulas and hospice and funeral people. And I love that. Like, and grief, these things, everybody's going to die. Everyone's going to experience grief. And if we don't talk about grief or how to live with grief, it is overwhelming. It's so traumatic. And I think that it's a disservice to mankind to not have the resources and the tools needed to survive losing somebody that's really important to you.
And these things can actually stop them from crossing over, I found too, because I've asked why an earthbound is there, and they said I couldn't leave my family. They were too upset. They were too bereaved. I couldn't leave.
I feel that because I go back and I do a lot of post-death stuff, like follow up, just checking on the family, helping to clean things out, all these different things. And I can feel that some of these individuals are like afraid to let go because their family is so distraught. They're just having such a hard time self-regulating and learning, because grief is never going to go away. You learn to live with it. You learn to feel it and live with it and move with it. And, I have a lot of grief. I cry often. I allow myself to feel those feelings.
Release. That's good. You're releasing. You're not keeping it inside. That's wonderful.
That's right. And I always take time in between my clients. Once one passes, I depending on the relationship and everything, some may take a little bit longer, but I'm not going to burn myself out. I need to make sure that I am filling my cup and that I am okay before I go take on somebody else. So I try to honor myself and, again, meet myself where I'm at and allow myself to have a little bit of time and grieve and process, really, because you're kind of in the throes of it, and you're carrying a lot of weight for not just the individual, but really the family too. You're carrying a lot.
Yes, indeed. And we end up having a lot of confusion ourselves when we get to this point, because we're like, where do we even go from here? Now that the loved one is gone, a lot of people dedicate sometimes even decades of their life to these people who are struggling with health issues or mental problems or all of these things. And then when that person transitions, they're like, well, what do I even do with myself now?
Exactly. That I see a lot of, which is where I'm hoping that some of the grief coaching and things I can help with or assist or put them in the right place for some support will help them and their soul move on. They're stuck in these caretaker roles for so long. And I also talk about, very frankly and openly, the relief. And then they feel guilt and shame for even feeling relief, because when you're, like you said, if you're caretaking for somebody, it's been months, it's been years, it's been decades. And yes, your whole identity is kind of wrapped up in that. Mm-hmm. You may also feel a little lost. You may also feel a little relief that you don't have to sacrifice your whole life and your whole being to be of service to somebody else. And that's a totally normal experience. And I try to comfort there and say, again, you did everything you could for them. You showed up. You loved them completely. They had you got me involved, which means they had the best death possible. They had hospice, they had a death doula, they had caretakers aside from you, so you don't burn out. Now it's time for you to release. Now it is time for you to get back to you and relearn who you are now that your loved one is no longer here with us. It's a journey.
You have such a beautiful spirit, Mikey. I just feel like telling you right now, because wow, this is so needed, and it's not an easy job. A lot of people do not want to face their emotions, can barely even handle something really sad like this. So the fact that you are able to live in that space and still keep a high vibration and keep optimistic and keep all this joy is such a powerful example of what we can do if we really put our hearts into our work.
I agree with you, and I feel like, thank you for saying that. I feel for the first time in my life, as a social worker, I loved what I did there. I loved it. I loved working with kids. I loved working with young adults. I really did love what I did. But the constraints of that industry now, especially with, there's all these mental health facilities being shut down and substance abuse and recovery centers are all private and nobody can afford them. It's crazy. And I really just felt like I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. And they want you to have these really rigid boundaries. And I'm like, listen, if a kid I'm working with has a soccer game and they want me to go on Saturday, I'm going to go. Like, I'm not going to not, I don't know. To me, I felt like I was kind of in the right place, but it still didn't quite fit. And I started to get that lower vibration. I was not feeling fulfilled. And then I had a car accident back in 2012 where I was going from one client to another, and I was in a coma for I think a week or two. I honestly don't really remember a lot of that time, but that's where I had one of my near death experience, and it really changed my life. And I heard clear as day, because I did not want to go back into my physical body. I wanted to just stay where I was.
Like, it's so nice up here though.
I loved it. I did not want to leave. And I heard clear as day, you're not done yet. You're not done. Your soul is meant to do more. I didn't know what the heck that meant. I had no idea. And those next about 10 years were really tumultuous. I had to learn to walk again, to talk again. I was in a really bad accident. I was really disabled. I required home health nurses. I required a lot of help. And I didn't think I'd ever be able to work again. I didn't think I'd ever be able to function really. But something deep inside me just kept pushing me through. And I was sort of at the worst time of my life. I was in the midst of a divorce. I had a young son. My family lives in Virginia, so I was literally homeless, and I was trying to figure out what next. And I just kept seeing this death doula thing coming up in different books I was reading or different things I was looking at or podcasts I was listening to. And I'm like, I've always been good in those hard times. Like, I'm the phone a friend when shit goes sideways. When something is like a disaster, people call me. They're like, Mikey maybe doesn't know what to do, but she'll know somebody who does, or she'll just be there. Like,
yes, people do.
Yes. I'm just like, I'm so non-judgmental. I don't care what's going on in your life or what kind of situation you got yourself into. I can go into that darkness with you and help pull you out and not necessarily stay stuck there, and I'm not afraid of the hard conversations. I'm not afraid of those scary spaces. I'm frankly called to them. And I was doing Reiki, on the side. I was doing readings, and my gift just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I'm like, I love this, but there's still like something else I meant to do with it. And then when I finally just said, F it, I'm gonna figure out how to start a business and become a death doula. And I need to be able to make my own hours. I need to be able to do what I want to do without having insurance and, big corporations telling me what I can and cannot do. And I just took the biggest leap of faith in my life. And I literally didn't have a pot to piss in. So it's not like something you have to do all at once. Don't let the paperwork or the mountain of like, oh my gosh, I have to get a business name. I have to get a logo. I have to get, there's like so many things you have to do as a business owner. But if you just do one little thing at a time, like that is the stepping stone to get you where you need to go. And it's only been a few years, I think like 2.5 years, where I've been doing this professionally with like the LLC and all this stuff. And I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful I didn't let that fear stop me. And I really feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And I hear that constantly reflected from my guides, from my spirit. And I feel it because I'm not in that lower energy. Like, I helped somebody pass away yesterday, and I came home to my wife and I was like, I'm just so happy. Like, I am exactly where I'm meant to be. And I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I did not think that would be my story, but here I am,
Yeah.
It's
I believe you. Believe me, I know. I'm living it, but it's funny because you're doing like the 3D version of what I do. You're actually, and it's funny though, because so many of what I help people with, because I help the traumatic souls that are struggling to cross over, the ones that were murdered or that, weren't able to connect with their loved ones and to be able to get that closure and that healing. And so I do tend to kind of stay in the dark area, helping people the most, because that is the area that I feel I am best equipped to do so. So I love that you are also doing that, because you're able to do this work without it having affect you, because it's hard for me. Like, death is still hard for me. If I see a loved one or hear of somebody that I care about that has passed, it is very challenging for me to move beyond that, even now, because so much of what we think about all the loss rather than all the good things that are happening for those people. Because they're reunited. They're no longer in pain.
Yeah.
They're able to, they're so much happier
Yep.
Usually it's the
Yes.
loved ones left behind that are struggling and feeling all of
100%.
that.
100%. It's so much harder on the ones that are caregiving and left behind. I really, I see that. I see that all the time when a mother is losing a child or when a child is losing a mother. It is the worst pain I've ever seen. Like it is the worst, like the visceral cry that either lets out, like the mother to the child or the child to the mother.
See, that's why I couldn't do this work. I that would just honestly, my heart couldn't take it. So for you to have that strength of heart is really important.
That is a hard part. Like that is, I mean, I totally feel it. I totally cry. Like I'm not, I don't make it about me where I'm like sobbing in a mess. Like, but when I hear that cry, the tears will come out. Like I stay pretty stoic, but like it's the worst imaginable pain. And I don't know. The guides built me in a way to be able to tolerate it and to stand there and hold space, and when a mother or a child collapses on the floor, I'll sit on the floor with them and I'll put blankets on them and they can just sit on that floor as long as they need, and yeah, I mean there was two sisters that had been the main caregiver for their mom that had brain cancer, and it was so sad, and she was so young and she was such a vibrant part of the community. And we had a beautiful death for her and we honored her. And I like to do these one last time trips. If the individual has like that surge of energy and they want to go somewhere, I will take them somewhere. I'll figure it out. I don't care if they're bed bound. Like I will get the bus, I will get them in a wheelchair. We will go to the casino. We will go to the beach. We will go where you want to go. And these two sisters, when their mom did pass and the funeral director took the body away, they just held each other and fell on the floor. I think it was at like 4 a.m. And I think we sat there till 7 or 8 a.m. Just that visceral, soul curdling cry that if you've heard it, you know it and you'll never forget it. And, those things stay with me. Like I will never forget them, obviously. But to echo what you said, the way I move through it and the way I can continue on and the way I encourage them is to not shit all over yourself. Don't be like, I should have did this or I should have did that or I wish this or I wish that. Let's look at what you did do. Let's look at what I did, what you did, what we did as a collective to help your mother, your father, your brother. Forget all this other stuff, because look at how you showed up day in and day out and what a gift you were to them, and I try to reframe it and let's focus our intention here, because then that will raise the gratitude and the vibration for them and for me and for the experience, really.
You are just phenomenal. You really are. That's all I can say. You're just nailing it perfectly. This is what I really, you've given me so much comfort in the fact that this is actually being done. And I know that you're a bit different to some of these other death doulas, that some death doulas are a bit more, just focusing on making sure everything is done correctly for them so it's easier. But the spiritual aspect of this, the giving them the comfort and to meeting them where they're at, and also, helping the family and putting so much effort into that is just, the world would be a much easier, better place if we had more people doing this work the way you do.
I think so too. And it's funny because like the area of Pennsylvania, I pretty much primarily see patients in Pennsylvania, and it's a very like hoity-toity wealthy area of Pennsylvania. And sometimes, their child is dying or their crazy aunt is dying, the woo-woo people, and they're like looking at me like, what is this? What is gonna, I can feel the, like, not the side eye, but the just, what is she doing? What is going on? And then as soon as I just like go in and I'm doing my thing and I'm talking to them as if I'm the same way I'm talking to you, what you see is what you get. I'm very much myself, and who I am is who I am. And as soon as I'm in there kind of doing my thing and the Reiki and just making sure, again, the practical stuff, of course, is done, but then adding the comfort pieces and the comfort care element, everybody's just like, holy shit, we need that. Like, we need this. Like, everybody needs a death doula. Like, everybody needs like, and they say, we could have had somebody else, but it wouldn't have been what you do, Mikey. It wouldn't have been this. So my hope is like the folks that are attuned, the folks that are spiritual and have these kinds of insights and intuitions. I've been toying around. I have a lot of people asking if I will teach them or mentor them. And I'm more open to that now, because I don't want I don't want to put my business name behind folks that I don't think are doing like that soul work. Like I want, if you want to work with me or a Mikey like person, I want to make sure that those people are really providing that care, that comfort, that education, that support that so many people need. So my hope is that more death doulas are popping up, more have the gifts that we have, and that this is like the norm. Like everybody kind of knows what a death doula is, and that, you know, if you want somebody that's really here to help that soul process, that you can find somebody, not just me. You know, this isn't about me. I'm just the vessel. I'm just, in my opinion, living out my purpose. Like I don't have ego around it. I don't think that I'm some like savior by any means. I think I'm just in the right place at the right time. And I want to help other people who are interested in this be the best death doula or the best end of life care specialist that they can be with their specific gifts to help, you know, this soul. Like we're all a part of the collective. We're all going to die. We're all in this together. And I think we need to get back to that connection. And I think that we're starting to get there because of the fact that these baby boomers and the silent generation are at that age where they're going to be dying. And I think our generation is very open and they want to learn and they believe more. They're not as rigid in their thinking. They're a little more open to things they maybe don't understand, you know what I mean? Or may not buy all in the way you and I do, but they're like, I'm okay with not knowing, and I'm also okay with having somebody who does that there so I can learn. I don't know. I just want this to be more available to people, and I want to figure out how to do this or how to encourage folks to do this where they have these gifts, but they're like, I do not want to start a business. I do not want to do that. Like, so would I be open to hiring people? Would I let them use my name or other death doula names where they don't have to do all the business stuff? Like there's already an established business that you can go under, because I just think so many individuals want to do it. They have the gift, they can stand the discomfort, and I'm trying to be as creative as I can to figure out how to make that possible for more people to be trained and provide that support.
Lovely. Wonderful. And what are some of the characteristics you would look out for somebody who would be interested in doing this work?
I would authenticity, really. I think that's like one of the first things I would need to see. Like I think you can't fake it. Like this,
we're big on authenticity here. That's one of our favorite words. We use it all the time. Yes, I absolutely believe that.
I can
highest vibration you can reach is authenticity.
That's it. That's it. And I think if you show up just authentically who you are, no matter what your gifts are, it's going to be a good fit. Like, I think that it's just, if you are self-aware and you're smart and you care about what you're doing, you're going to be a great death doula. Like, I think, I just don't, I think it's like being like a trauma nurse. I think if you can't do it, you're not going to make it. Like it can be very unsettling to watch somebody die if you're not comfortable with it. The way the body changes, the way the face changes, the way it looks, the way it feels. A lot of people are just like, I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. You know, it's too uncomfortable, or it's too scary, or it's too gross. I mean, there's bodily fluids and secretions and scary sounds, like that death rattle at the end where the breathing is, it's uncomfortable for human beings. So, you know, we don't. So I feel like if you really want to do it and you really feel like you can tolerate that space, you're going to be great. We just need to like help support each other to be the best death doulas they can be. Like I said earlier, I'm the vice president of a death doula collective, and that's pretty much what we do. Like, we want to help each individual doula in their state, in their area, be the best that they can be. And not all of them have the intuition and like the psychic gifts and things that I have. Some of them are podcast hosts, some of them are hospice nurses, some of them they're just so many different walks of life, but they're so good at what they do, you know. And I think that the vibration, you're going to have the right clients for the right doula and vice versa. Like, if it's not meant for you, it's not going to land. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So if somebody is already, let's say, like a hospice nurse, or somebody who's already kind of doing this work, how would you bridge that gap to become a death doula?
We have so many of those. There's a million. I probably get 100 messages a day from nurses that are like, I really want to do what you do. What do I need to do? I'm so burnt out from the medical field, but I really don't want to stop caring for people at their end of life. The only thing they really need to do is get certified. There is a national board, and, you know, it's important to have your certification, and you want to be educated. Like, I know it sounds funny to say that with a nurse. Obviously, she knows so much more medically than I'm going to know, but there's so much with the end of life care stuff, the funerals, the green burials, the cremations, the advanced directives. There's so much other stuff that you need to learn. There's a woman that I partner with. Her name is Death Doula Casey. She runs the best school, in my opinion. The reason I like her school is I went to a school myself first and I found it lacking. Like it was just one of these online schools, and I guess you get what you pay for. And I just felt like, okay, like I understand in theory the death and the dying, what the body's going to do, but it didn't really have much support as far as how do you start a business, like how do you actually do this now. And Casey's classes really offer that, so I think that that is really helpful. So whenever they're asking me, the first thing I say, even though you're an expert in the medical side, you still need to learn the non-medical side and what it is that we do, and how to start a business. So you need to get certified. And then from there, after certified, I really encourage people to join the Death Doula Collective, because that is where we're here to literally help you as an individual be the best death doula in your area. Here's what works for me. We don't gatekeep any of that stuff, Casey and I. We want the people who want to do this to be so successful and to be the best that they can be. So we really help fine tune where are they? What do you need next? You need a website? Here we go. You need a business card? Only print like 100 for the first time, because you're going to change your logo a million times. Make sure learn from our mistakes. You know, we are very honest and open about how we got to where we got to and what you can do. So I try to, mentor people. I'm always open on the phone too. I'll schedule times for people. They're like, okay, I'm a nurse, I'm certified, and now what do I do? Can I get on the phone with you for 20 minutes and talk? And I will absolutely do that, because I want them to be successful. So it's not a huge gap to bridge for the medical individuals that want to do this. I feel like they have a huge advantage and a huge leg up than just like a layman person. And what a gift to be able to offer a family, say, I'm also a registered nurse, which Casey is, who runs the collective. She's an RN, and she was in the throes of COVID. She's seen hundreds of thousands of deaths, and she's, so she has this medical knowledge as well as the death doula knowledge, as well as how to start a successful business. So again, like we really want to mentor people. We really want to help them. We'll offer a lot of hand holding to get you where you want to go.
Oh, that's wonderful. We'll take some questions from the comments. I see there's a couple good questions. As a death doula, does Mikey think there's an ideal way to take care of the body after a person has died? Like, is cremation a good thing? What about organ donation, etc.?
Awesome questions. Yes, yes, and yes. So, this was interesting to me when I went to school. I'm an organ donor. I want to be an organ donor, all these wonderful things. But if you die at home, you really can't be an organ donor, because you need to be put on ice immediately. Like, you need to have those organs harvested immediately. So there is no time for aftercare, which, depending on the person, that's just good information to know. A lot of people, really 80% of people, want to die at home. So I am very clear when we're doing advanced directives or we're talking about that, just to say, like, you probably will not be able to donate your organs if that's the case. When a patient dies, I don't rush that process. A lot of the facilities and the hospice nurses, we're trying to get in, we're getting time of death, we're just like, let's go. I don't like that. I think this is a really sacred time. This is a sacred space. I want to make sure that for me, if the patient has consented and they want me to help a soul release, or soul cleansing, clearing, whatever you want to call it, I will do that. I will do my ritual around that. I think that's really important. I think it's really important to clear the energy for the soul and for the family, so we're not like tethered together. I think that's a piece that we need. I mean, you're always going to be with your loved ones still, but not like that ball and chain where they get stuck. I think it's important to make sure that piece is in there if they consent and are willing to have that done. I would never perform any kind of practice like that without consent first. When a body dies, depending on how much reserve is in there, they will defecate and urinate. Like, whatever's in the body will come out, because the muscles completely relax. So the second somebody dies, I turn the AC down really, 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 really low. I open a window, because it gets messy and I don't want to rush that process. So again, I always have like a diffuser with essential oils and candles and things like that, but it will smell. There will be some things that happen. The patient, the individual at the end of life, typically stops eating and drinking. That's called VSET. It's voluntary stopping eating and drinking. They don't really want to take medication unless it's for comfort care, for pain, for anxiety, things like that. And usually they don't have a ton of reserve in them, because they've stopped eating and drinking several days before they actually die. I also want to know what clothes do they want to be taken by the coroner or the funeral director. I think that's important. And if they want to be in a certain outfit, it's best to put them in before they die, just food for thought. Or if they do want to be put into an outfit or a certain gown or dress or something to be removed, do it as soon as you can, because once rigor mortis steps in, it's really hard to move the body to get them in. So a lot of times you have to like cut like the back of a shirt or whatever to put it on. I also will clean the body. So do like a full sponge bath. Once the person has died, I will put, new depends, like diapers on and whatever outfit they want to be on, because I think again dignity is everything. And I had one woman, she's like holding on to me, she's like, Mikey, please make sure you fix my face before they come and get me. I know it sounds stupid that I'm dead, but I really want a little lipstick on, I don't want to look a mess, can you fix my hair? I was like, of course I can, whatever you want is what I will do. So I did. She told me what she wanted with her makeup, so I made sure to do that. She told me what she wanted to wear, so I did that. Made sure her hair, she had very short hair, she was a cancer patient, so it wasn't a lot of hair, but she wanted it to be brushed a certain way. And then, we just take our time. I encourage, again, pictures. I know that sounds morbid, but a lot of times they want the pictures, or, holding your loved one's hands and things. So I will oftentimes just take pictures and videos, and then, a day or two later ask, hey, I have these pictures and videos. Would you like them? If you do, I will send them to you. 99% of the time they do want them, so I do send them. Then when the family is ready, and usually like I will go out after the person has died, or if I can tell I have a few hours, I'll go get pizza, I'll get Chinese food, I'll get wine, I'll get weed, I'll get whatever the hell they want. And we kind of all sit there and laugh and joke and share stories, and they'll pull pictures out like, hey, you want to see what they looked like when they were a teenager? And that's called the active vigil. Like
that's how I want my end of life celebration to be, exactly like that. A big party, everybody having fun, go have a smoke, I don't care, whatever makes you feel good.
Drink, laugh.
This is how I learned about death doulas. There was an episode on, I think it was Gracie and Frankie or something like that on Netflix, and one of their friends was told she only had like a few weeks left to live, and she was like, I'm gonna party, and she planned this huge party and had
we do that a lot.
Strippers and all this stuff.
We've done that a lot. We've done that a lot. I've done that with a few of my other death doulas in different states, have done that as well, where we do it like an end of life celebration. It's a big, big, big blowout party before they're bed bound, before they can't get up, because they're like, hey, I want to be a part of this. And I think it's awesome. I love those. They're kind of my favorite. I like that. What was I say? Oh, and then after everyone's kind of like, all right, we're ready to call, then I'll call the hospice nurse, because again, we're non-medical as doulas, so we need a hospice nurse to come and give the official time of death. So the hospice nurse will come. Sometimes I'll wait for the hospice nurse, depending on how big the individual is, to do like the post-death cleaning and changing and stuff, because it just makes it easier on my back and my body to have two people do it versus one. And if you've ever cared for somebody at the end of life that's been down, you know how difficult that is to move them and change them and dress them and bathe them. It's hard. So it's physically hard. So it's nice to have an extra hand on deck, and they're usually happy to come and assist. The hospice nurse will call time of death, and either he, or I will then call the coroner or the funeral home, if that is what their wish is. And usually that's the same if somebody's cremated, because you have to go to a facility to do that. There are some places that are cheaper than a funeral home, which I will always recommend if somebody wants to be cremated. There's a lot of direct cremation places that you can have your loved ones sent to. I also, so the second part of that question was, what do I think is like the best? For me, what aligns with me is a green burial. I used to think that I wanted to be cremated, but if you burn the body, your energy is kind of just gone. There's nothing left.
You're robbing the earth of nutrients that you took from the earth.
Yep.
And so now you give back to the earth.
That's what I want to do. Yep. And I don't I'm claustrophobic. I don't want to be buried. It's so expensive. I don't want to be embalmed or any of that. It's so bad for the environment. There's a lot of places
over me, and I'm happy.
Yep. There's a lot of green burial and hydro burial options these days, where there's, in Pennsylvania, actually, there's a few of them where it's like a botanical garden, really. And your remains are put into like these pine boxes, more or less.
Like composted.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. It's called human composting, and you turn into the soil, and then they put that soil into these green burial plots, and then that's where your loved ones can come and visit, and you're a tree. I just think energetically that is what aligns with me. So that is what I plan on doing. But there are some crematoriums and things now that have these biodegradable urns. So if you want to be put into the ocean, or you want to be planted somewhere, it is biodegradable. So I like that. Like, that's great. If you want to be cremated, I think that's an option. Some funeral places, you don't necessarily have to be embalmed, so that's also less of a carbon footprint you leave. So for me,
You're not like you're
I
getting
just,
cryogenically frozen. You haven't had
yep,
anybody that got the Walt
that
Disney treatment, did you?
no, I haven't. It's so expensive, but that is a thing. That is people do it. It's just very,
Just
very
in case they
expensive.
can be brought back in 100 years or
Yeah.
so, you know, when they figure out how to bring people back. Yep.
Yeah, but again, the people I'm working with usually have like a disease or they're very, very old. So I feel like if you're going, I mean, depending on God only knows what the future holds, but like I wouldn't want to come back into that body. Like it's a mess. You know what I mean?
My mom got her dog freeze dried.
I believe that. That's so interesting. I
So
wanted to get mine taxidermied. I thought about it.
I was like, is it taxidermy? She's like, no, she's freeze dried. And I'm like, what do you mean she's
Wild.
freeze dried? And she got her and yeah, like straight
Like
up.
on ice.
Well, no, it's not even she's become one of those, it looks like a stuffed animal. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
not.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. That's
I'm so blown
amazing.
away at how realistic it looks. And my mom's like, oh yeah, now she's always with me. I
That's
was
so
like,
cool. There's
all right,
so
well,
many
to each
cool.
their own, however you have to grieve, you know?
Yeah, there's so many interesting things you can do with ashes. There's so much beautiful jewelry, beautiful artwork, beautiful pottery. There's like these forever stones you can be turned into. There's so many options out there now. So that's a lot of what I talk about with my clients too. Like, what would you like? And here are some options that I'm familiar with, and we'll figure it out. And it's there's no judgment around it. Everybody's different. Everybody's gonna pick what's best for them. But for me, I like the green burial option.
Yes, I hope the taxidermy, they used to do that for humans a little bit too, where
So
there's some
crazy.
cultures around the world where they actually dig you up a year or so
Mhm.
later, like on the
Yep.
anniversary of your death, and then they party
Yep.
with you and then they bury you again.
Yep. And that's cool. Not for me. I mean, whatever you want to
Not for
do,
me
but
either, but hey, respect, whatever makes you
yep.
happy. However
Again,
you
meet
have to
people where
deal
they
with
are.
grief.
I agree. It's
There was one
interesting.
person that was asking a little bit. I saw your comment, RJ, sending you so much love. He was wondering, he's got a family member that is considering assisted
Yeah.
transitioning.
Yep. I do that. They do it in New Jersey. It's called Medical Aid in Dying.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful, wonderful program. A lot of diseases are harder to die from than others. A lot of them are more painful than others. So I really support individuals if that's something they want to do. It is expensive. You do have to pay for it out of pocket. It's about $2,000 to $3,000 for the medication. You need to have two physicians determine you terminal with less than 6 months to live. So there are some hoops you need to jump through. So like, let's say you have Huntington's disease or ALS or something, and you're getting to your end of life, and that isn't something you want to explore. I encourage our folks to start that process early because it takes a little time to deal with the bureaucracy of all of that.
Yeah. Well, I believe in options. Whatever you
Me
feel is best
too.
for you, that is
Me
great,
too.
because
I
everybody is different
say
for a
that
reason.
every day. I say that every single day. I say choices are a good thing, especially when you're at the end of life and you feel like you don't have many choices. So again, back to advanced directives and legacy projects, that gives you empowerment, that gives you agency, that gives you choices. And even like the Swedish death cleaning, when we're going through belongings, again, you get to choose where you want your stuff. You're not already dead and waiting for your family to figure out what to keep and what to donate. I think choices and free will and agency and all these things are so important, so important. And I just respect everybody's individual decision. And it's just my job is to advocate and educate and support them all the way through.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for this conversation today. This was so
Me
wonderful.
too.
I enjoyed this immensely. And,
Me too.
I feel that there's going to be a big shift in this work. I have a feeling there's a lot
Me
more
too.
people that are going to be getting involved in this. And, I'm just so grateful. I love your page. In fact, I'm going to share it for everybody just to make sure that you guys can follow Mikey because her page is wonderful. And
Yes. Don't hesitate to ask any questions either. Just shoot me. I always, I'll get back to you within like 12 to 24 hours usually. Please message me if you have more questions about your individual loved ones or if you have questions about death doulas or how to become one. I am happy to assist in any way. Don't be shy. Reach out anytime, truly.
there is her social media, and I'm also going to share your website because I'm sure there's going to be some people that have some other questions or maybe even are living in the area and would like to maybe even hire you to be a death doula for a
Yes,
loved one.
I would love that. Thank you.
And can I just ask a little bit about how much a typical death doula would charge? Because I know a
Yes.
lot
Oh,
of
that's a
people are also
great
concerned.
question. So I work on a sliding scale. I don't want anybody like already end of life care is so expensive. So when I offer a free 45-minute consultation, and I can usually tell if the people can afford what they can afford based on their house, their cars. You can just use your eyes and tell somebody's socioeconomic status. But usually for me, I need to probably charge more. Like if I'm just doing a Reiki session with somebody, I charge 150 an hour to do the tarot and the Reiki and all that stuff. I would love to be charging like $100 an hour for my service, but I don't. I charge about, honestly, if I'm there like for several hours a day, which typically I am, like about 5 hours, 2 hours, something like that, I'll charge 35 an hour. That seems to be the going rate for.
So kind of you.
I'm not in this for the money. Every time I work with somebody, they give me more than I've asked for. So I kind of just, this is not a great business strategy, but I kind of let the universe take care of it. Like I'll charge, 25 to 35 an hour for the lower income folks. For the really fancy folks in mainline where I'm pulling up to like a mansion, I'll charge 50 an hour because again, that's what like a nurse would be paid. Well, a little less than what a nurse would be paid. And because I do hands-on care in addition to the soul care, everybody tells me, Mike, you really are underselling yourself. You need to charge $100 an hour, but I'm not there yet. I want to meet people where they are. I don't want them to go broke trying to have the best end of life care that they need. That's something I as an individual am working on, my relationship with money, but it's all worked out for me. And I think that if just for frame of reference, I would say if you're first starting out, maybe 25 to 50 an hour, just because you are new, you're green, you're figuring it out as you go. And then as you get stronger in your abilities and what you do, and you are an expert in the field, charge accordingly. I think it's your business, so you can charge whatever you feel is right for you.
Lovely. And Jessica wanted to know, how far do you travel technically?
That's a great question. So my life is chaos. Like I had mentioned before, I am divorced and I co-parent with my ex-husband, and it's a mess the way that it is. So my life is a little more complicated than most death doulas as far as traveling. So I travel a little bit further. I technically live in South Jersey, right outside of Philly. And most of my clients are in Pennsylvania, and that's intentionally. So my son goes to school in Pennsylvania. My typical day, I'll drop him off at school at 8:30. I'm with my first patient by 9. I leave her house, and like they're probably 30 minutes tops from his school. So my website, my SEO, which is search engine optimization stuff, is specifically for that area. So if my son's school is in one town, I'll kind of go like 30 minutes ish outside of there, work, and then on my days I pick him up. On the days he's with his dad, I will see another patient, and usually I'm home around dinner time. Like I really try to schedule my day so I don't kill myself. I have some physical limitations from my accident that I was in, and I have an autoimmune disease that I have to be mindful of and take care of myself too. But when my individual is in the active dying phase, I will make all of the arrangements and stay till they labor out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wonderful.
But again, if you do this, you have your own business. So you get to, again, choices. Like it's scary, but it's also very freeing. You get to decide how far you're willing to travel. You get to charge. A lot of the doulas I work with, they charge, if there's a 45-minute away, they charge for the gas mileage. That's in your pricing. So that's why it's really important to have that 45-minute consultation. So you really understand, do they need help with ADLs? Are you going to be hands-on? How far are you going to be driving? Are you being asked to, make some meals and do a little housework if you're open to that? You get to decide, what you're going to take on and how much you're going to charge for it.
I love that. Thank you. You seem like such a wonderful teacher. So I imagine there's going to be some people that are inspired by this conversation to get into that work. And that was my hope. We need all the help we can get. There's a lot of earthbounds out there.
Yes.
I find them everywhere. I even find them in hospices. I've cleared hospices so many times. And sometimes I'll find 60 people in one building that are not crossed over. And I'm like, why are they not crossed? And they don't know what to do or where to go.
I'm going to be calling you because I hate to sound like this, but I just don't have the time to do that. Like I used to do a lot of that kind of stuff. And my calling is really to help direct care. But in these facilities, I feel it. I know it. There's so many people trapped. I'm going to be calling you for certain.
Please do. This is a big part of the work I do. In fact, I do something called Lost Soul Rescue, where we go in with a team of mediums and we clear out whole hospitals and hospices, prisons, you name it. We make sure that, because it raises the vibration of the space when there's not so many locked holes there. You can feel the difference in the building when you walk in and it's been cleared.
1,000%. This is so needed. I am going to be calling you for person places.
And I also deal with the troublemakers as well. There's some, because there's some dark stuff that tries to obviously, get involved sometimes and to make people held back. And so we also deal with that stuff too. So
we appreciate that. We appreciate that because it happens all the time and people will ask for my help and I do the best that I can, but you are way more versed and way more of an expert in that than I am. So I am happy to give you those referrals.
And I'm in Harrisburg. We'll have to maybe have a lunch sometime. I would love to
meet.
Not
far from me. Yes, you're not far at all. Probably an hour. So you're really not far.
Oh, I love that. Wonderful.
That. Thank you so much again for having me. And don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or anybody.
We'll have you back on the podcast again sometime.
Yeah, I would love that.
Would love to ask more questions. So that'll be great.
Love that. Anytime. Let me know.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Make sure that you give a like to Mikey's page. She's also on Instagram as well. Thank you so much, Mikey. This is really
a wonderful Laura. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate you.
I love you all. See you guys tomorrow for the solo chat. Much love. Bye, guys.
Bye.